Hey everyone, Greg DePalma here. I want to talk to you guys about a little jig that I've been using the entire season, and it's called the Instigator from Riot Baits. This little jig is jam-packed pretty much with everything that I look for when I'm looking to purchase a jig. It's got a super stout hook on it. You know, I threw super line on this jig most of the time, and I never straightened one out. And if it was going to happen, I'd have did it by now, and I never did. It's got a pretty cool little keeper on it. You know, it holds up your crawler, your bait, whatever you're putting on there for a char really well. It has this flat head design to it. I mean, this little bait stands up on the bottom perfect. When you pair it with your trailer or crawl or whatever you put in the back, it looks very natural. I'm going to show you a couple little modifications that I do, you know, and I think it helps me get a couple more bites. The number one thing I usually do is trim my skirt down. What I do is I pull the skirt down all the way to the bottom of the jig, nice and tight. And I usually just cut it like right on the bottom bend of the shank of the hook. That's generally where I cut it at. I always cut the weed guard back a little bit just to give it a little better profile, and it slips through the cover a little bit better. Pairing it wise, you know, I use a fuzzy beaver. It's also from Riot Baits. You know, I modified this a little bit just so I can make the whole package look like it's really natural and compact. So I'm gonna show you how I do it. So get my scissors, get my jig. If you look up your hook on your jig, you'll see, you know, where the keeper goes up and then where it stops, and you see your round bend of your hook. Well, that's how I generally try to measure it. You know, I always try to come out on my beaver either, or if you're throwing some other kind of crawl, just try to come out, you know, right between the V of the legs. And from that V of the legs, from the round bend of the hook, if you can see it there, you know, I try to measure up. I know it's probably hard to see, just about, you know, with my finger to keep it for a guide where I'm going to cut my bait at. So, got my fuzzy beaver. I'm going to cut it off right there. And you see what we have left. You know, the bottom section of the crawl. So, you can see it has like a square, you know, body left over still. If I'm doing a lot of skipping, like underneath docks, I leave that on. Most of the time, I'm flipping cover, you know, vegetation, wood, whatever. So I'll modify this a little bit if I'm fishing wood. Today we're fishing a lot of wood. Okay, so what I do, I'm just going to cut it, then I'll show you. Okay. See how I cut a V shape in it? That V shape really seems like it makes a big difference, believe it or not. So what I'm going to do, run up right dead center. You can put either color out, either the sapphire color or just the black color out. I always put the black out. I'm going to run right up, like I said, dead center. And I'm going to poke through right between them two legs. Run it up the jig. Push it over my keeper. And there you have it. That's a bad little jig. Very compact, very natural looking. Let's see if we can get some fish on this thing, huh? Go. So next time you're in the market to buy a new jig, I'll take all the guesswork out of you. Check out Riot Baits at riotbaits.com.